my channel. I'm Tori Lynn. Let's blossom today. I'm super excited because I'm finally going to be testing out the Tarte HYDROFLEX Serum Foundation. I have been dying to get my hands on this, and I finally got to pick one up. I picked up the shade 42N Tan Neutral. I did the shade match thing on Sephora, so hopefully this shade matches. This foundation is supposed to be like lightweight, but it's supposed to be medium coverage. It's supposed to be 12-hour, long wearing. It's supposed to like move with your skin, not supposed to crease. It's supposed to be like super duper amazing, and I'm super excited. I've been on the hunt looking for like the perfect foundation for our vacation coming up here in about a month. And so I had two foundations in mind that I wanted to try, and this was one of them. The back of the box says medium coverage skincare serum foundation. The HYDROFLEX technology helps even skin tone and blur appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and pores. Hyaluronic acid, plant collagen, vitamin E, and niacinamide hydrate, calm, and brighten. Yes, it's supposed to have all these amazing claims. So here's the packaging. Really cute little kind of almost teardrop shaped bottle. It's kind of skinny, but I like the like pale blue color. Almost a little bit Tiffany bluish if it was a little bit more blue and a little less green in it. And I'm thinking I'm going to do the same thing I did in my last foundation wear test video, where I do half my face with a brush and half my face in the sponge, just so we can kind of get the feel. And then I will also, as I test this out on my channel, just in other makeup videos and just on my own, I will be testing out with like my fingers and stuff. So keep in tune for that. So let's go ahead and start with a brush. My brush that I'm using is an IT Cosmetics Airbrush Blurring Foundation. What is the number on this? 101. So I believe online it said to take like 4 drops. So I'm just going to put a decent amount, a couple drops on the brush, and just kind of work that onto the skin. And I've already done all my skincare, although I'm not putting on a primer because I want to see, one, how this wears on its own, and two, I used my Glow Screen Super Goop, which also works as a primer. So I'm very interested to see how this works, as far as it says it's supposed to move with your skin, and it's not supposed to settle into fine lines and creases. So I don't think I'm going to bake my under eye today. So far the coverage is actually pretty good for a medium coverage, like a light medium coverage. The color is not too bad. I'm not sure how it's looking on the viewfinder, but in person it looks pretty good. You can't always judge it based on my neck, because when I tan, my neck kind of disappears. Being a bigger boobed and a bigger chinned person, it kind of my neck kind of disappears when I lay down. But other than that, I think it matches my chest and stuff pretty well. If I don't know what shade I'm gonna get, even if I'm going to go shop at Ulta, I usually just go onto Sephora's website and do the shade match. It usually works pretty darn well. Okay, so there's one side completely done. I'm gonna go ahead and examine this one side just to kind of get a little first impressions with the brush here. So first impressions always look very glowy and dewy. It looks very, very natural. Honestly, it looks like my skin, except for it's reduced all of that redness and blotchiness and patchiness that you see on this side. It's just like taken my skin and just like photoshopped all the underlying pigments in my skin and just made it one even beautiful tone. I actually really like how that looks. You can see a lot of my freckles or moles or whatever you want to call them popping through. So if you have a lot of those and you want those to be covered, or a lot of hyperpigmentation, you're probably not going to get a lot of coverage. This probably isn't something you're going to love. Here in a minute, we're going to see if we can build up. This was just one layer. Let's see. Everything else, though, I'm really liking how it's looking. And it doesn't really look like it's settling into the pores. You can just see my natural pores just about as much as you can see them on this side. I don't feel like it enhanced them or anything. It just, they're there just because my pores are there. And as far as the under eye goes, it's not settling into the creases, but they're definitely there. They maybe are just a hair more prominent than they are on the side that doesn't have anything more than skincare on it. So let's go ahead and see if we can build up just a hair more foundation on those freckly spots, just to see if we can get more coverage. Like, those spots do not bother me, but just for the sake of the video, let's see. I put some more droppage, put a few more drops on my brush. Let's see if we can get just a little more coverage. And this time I'm stippling a little bit more than doing the first time. I did a little bit more swiping slash stippling. This time I'm just straight up stippling. This foundation is also supposed to be waterproof. So I don't know if that means it's supposed to also be a little bit like transfer proof or not. Okay, so building that up, maybe made them a little bit less noticeable, but not much. I feel like they look about the same, and I really don't feel like it did any more as far as coverage anywhere else. Everything honestly looks about the same, just a little bit more coverage on the rest of the skin, if that makes sense. Like, I don't feel like it covered these anymore as far as took away the pigment of the freckles, but I do feel like it gave more coverage to the rest of the area there. So there's that. I feel like it looks so natural and really, really pretty. So let's go ahead and try it with the sponge now. It was weird though. It did seem like it absorbed into the bristles of the brush really quickly. I don't feel like that affected the way it applied as far as like I didn't get enough on the skin. I feel like it all got onto the skin really well. It's just such a runny, liquidy product that it like ran right into the bristles of the brush. Okay, so looking at the skin here, I feel like I got the same effect when I did the Amazonian clay from Tarte. The brush side has a lot more texture and looks a lot more dewy than the sponge side. And I think that's because the sponge pushes the foundation into the skin. It really melts it down into the skin versus the brush just kind of glides it over. Just kind of sets it on the skin. So overall, just looking in the mirror, I feel like the look of the sponge looks better. I feel like I got the same amount of coverage between the two. I feel like you just get a different finish. Although I do feel like on the under eye, the brush side looks better. I feel like the sponge side looks a little bit cakier in those creases under my eyes. If you guys can see, I feel like this side looks cakier through there than there. But other than that, I preferred the finished look on this side than this side. I feel like you can't see quite as many pores on this side. I feel like it just looks smoother and overall just a better finish to it. I like that this side looks a little bit glossier, a little bit dewier, but this side still has plenty of dew. It just doesn't look wet like this side. This side still looks pretty wet and very textured. This side just looks dewy and healthy and not near as textured. It looks just soft. So far, I think that the sponge is a better way to go, or just maybe a different brush. I don't know. I definitely, like I said, will be testing this out with my fingertips as well in another video. Obviously, it won't be just a foundation wear video on its own. It'll probably be like a makeup video or maybe even in a vlog, something like that. I don't know. We will see, but I will definitely, or if I try it on my own, I will let you guys know in a vlog how I feel about putting it on with the fingertips. But stay tuned, subscribe if you're not subscribed so you guys can find out. But so far, overall, right now, I like the look of the sponge side better, but you get the same amount of coverage either way. So I'm going to go ahead now and finish the rest of my makeup, and I'll come back and I'll kind of tell you how I feel like that went, and then we will continue to check in throughout the rest of the day. It is currently 8:30 in the morning on the dot, so I'm going to do my makeup and I'll be right back. Alright, so my makeup is finished. Everything's looking pretty darn good. We're having a little bit of settling in the smile lines already before the day has even begun. But other than that, like, everything's looking pretty darn good. Didn't bake the under eyes. I just set my skin like normal. So we're going to kind of keep an eye on the under eye. Still, I think that the brush under eye looks better than the sponge under eye, even though I did my concealer the way I normally would do. I used my NARS Soft Matte Creamy Concealer and dabbed that out with my finger. But I did my makeup kind of the way I'm thinking about doing a possible vacation makeup situation here. So the foundation looks really good. The finish, now that I've got all my makeup on, the finish doesn't really look any different between the two. Everything looks pretty much the same. I think I'm gonna go enjoy my day, and I will be back and to check in a few hours, and we will see kind of how this makeup is wearing throughout the day. We're here for the first check-in. It is now 1:30, so it's been about 5 hours. So let's go ahead and give it a good look. You may notice actually that my nails are different because I just went and got my nails and toes done. So, getting in real close here. Everything looks really good. I don't feel like I'm noticing really any like extra dewiness. I feel like all my pores look about the same as they did last time. The under eye doesn't look too bad. Maybe looks a little bit drier than before, but not too bad at all. I really don't have a lot of creasing in my forehead. Maybe a hair, a slight bit of creasing or settling in those creases, but that's pretty typical with just about every foundation, whether I bake it or not. And maybe a hair more settling into those smile lines. Other than that, it actually looks really good. So yeah, for 5 hours in, I'm impressed. It's looking really, really good. My nose looks fantastic. When I was getting my pedicure done, I did a lot of touching my chin. At the salon I go to, you sit in like a really nice, like comfortable, like armchair, and I was sitting like this a lot, and so I did a lot of touching my chin, and like I don't see any like transfer there. I don't see any skin starting to like pop through or anything. I've eaten lunch since then. And other than my lip product being gone, everything looks really good around the mouth. So far I'm impressed. I'm really happy with it. So yeah, we will check back in another few hours. Alright, check in at number 3. It is now 7 p.m. So we are now about 10.5-ish hours in. So let's see where we're at. Okay, so zooming in a real close here. As far as oil, everything looks really good. I don't look super greasy. There's not much shine to my forehead or my chin. My nose and my cheeks look just about as highlighty as they did this morning when I put my makeup on. My smile lines are getting a little more creasy, but not too terrible. My forehead looks really, honestly, pretty good. It's settled in just a hair more, but not too bad at all. My pores and everything, honestly, doesn't look bad at all. Only thing I'm really noticing is that my under eyes are now starting to get pretty dry and crusty looking. It's not really settled into those crease lines a whole lot, but it's almost like started to like separate from those creases pretty badly. If I zoom in really closely here and I pull out those crease lines, you guys can see hopefully in the camera that like there's no foundation or concealer left around those creases. But other than that, it looks a little dry and a lot of that stuff is gone. It's separated down there around those eyes. But everything else looks really, really good. I've been chilling on the couch. I have been laying with my face on blankets and pillows. And there's not really been very much transfer, if any at all. And I have white pillows on my couch. And there's no makeup on the white pillows, which, I mean, it's not like I'm rubbing my face on the pillows, but, you know, I've got them propped up under my head because I'm laying on the couch watching movies and TV and whatever, so that looks really good. My chin, there's a little bit of transfer I can see right through here where a little bit of my natural skin is starting to pop through, but really not bad at all. Everything around my nose looks really pretty darn good. I mean, like, I'm touching my nose right now, and I'm not really getting a whole lot. Maybe getting a little bit of my bronzer and blush, but, like, I'm not really getting foundation or anything. Like, that all still looks really pretty darn good on my nose. So, overall, this looks really good. It's wearing pretty well. I mean, we're at, like, the little over 10 hours. So, it just, what, an hour and a half-ish? I will have been wearing this for 12 hours, and this foundation looks phenomenal for being this far in. Like, this looks really, really good. The worst thing about this makeup at this point is my under eye. Probably if I baked that like I normally would, it would probably look really great, because I did not bake that. Like I said, all I did was set my face down with just my regular powder. I did not bake whatsoever, which is something I do every day with every other foundation. I just wanted to see, since it said it moved with the skin, it had like this, you know, no creasing, whatever technology, like the other Tarte foundation that I tried, the Amazonian Clay foundation. It said it had the same thing, so I want to try this one as well. I feel like this one did a lot better job at not creasing and stuff than the other one did. The other one, by the end of the day, my smile lines looked pretty bad. My forehead looked really bad right away, as far as like these creases up in here. And I think my under eyes didn't look quite as good. But overall, I'm really happy with this so far. So we'll do one more check-in somewhere at the very end of the day, probably around 10 o'clock. So in a few more hours when I decide to take my makeup off before I go to bed tonight. So I will see you guys in a few more hours. It is the final check-in of the wear test. I am looking pretty haggard. It's actually about 5 after 11. So I have been wearing this foundation for like 14 and a half hours now. This is a long wear test on this foundation. So let's go ahead and give it the final last look here. Give it one last close-up. Alright, after 14 and a half hours on this foundation, starting to see a good amount of separation on the upper lip. A lot of skin starting to show. The foundation's starting to look pretty patchy on that lip, and on the chin quite a bit as well. The nose, although I haven't really been touching my nose a whole lot, my nose looks really darn good. My under eyes, honestly, they look about the same as they did on our last check-in. They look a little dry, a little crusty, a lot of separation going on around those creases. A lot of separation going on down there. The forehead looks, honestly, pretty darn good. You know, we've got that little bit of settling and those really fine lines. But other than that, it looks super good. There doesn't look like there's been really any transfer. It really hasn't settled into those creases too terribly much. And my forehead doesn't look super greasy or anything, which my forehead is not an area that gets super greasy. If any of the areas on my face is going to look real greasy, it's going to be my nose and the areas around my nose. It really doesn't look too bad. It's a little bit dewier, greasier than it looked this morning when I put my highlight and stuff on. But honestly, for wearing this for almost 15 hours, not too shabby. I mean, even my chin doesn't look greasy. and my chin can tend to get a little bit greasy throughout the day. So really, really impressed with how this foundation wore. It looks really good from, you know, if I sit back from the mirror and I look at this, my mirror down here, it honestly looks really, really good. Of course, you know, I get up close, I can see all the separation and settling and whatnot, but probably the worst thing about this whole look is my under eyes. The under eyes are definitely the worst part, but I think with a little bit of baking, that whole little issue would probably be pretty much resolved. I am really, really happy. I really like this foundation. I'm guessing if you're a very, very dry skinned person, this foundation is probably going to be amazing for you, because out here my skin's pretty dry and I don't have any patchiness. It didn't cling to any spots on my skin very weird at all. Like, no transfer whatsoever. Everything out there looks really good still. I'm super impressed. Here on my nose, yeah, I have a very oily nose. So let's go ahead and just give it a couple good, like, heavy nose swipes here and see what happens. Okay, we're getting some transfer. You can clearly see I got some bronzer and whatnot going on. Let me get close up on my nose here. And yeah, I can now definitely see some of my redness showing through. But even so, I can still literally see foundation on my skin. So I think even if you're an oilier person, this foundation is going to be really good for you. I recommend this foundation if you guys are wanting a good foundation that's going to last for a long time, and you're okay with it not being a 100% full coverage. And you guys saw that this foundation, it's a good medium coverage. You could see a few, you could see a little bit of like my freckles and that kind of stuff show through, but not the end of the world. I think if you used a pressed powder, and I actually just used a translucent powder to set, I used my Coty translucent airspun powder. I think if you used a pressed foundation powder to set, you obviously are going to get more coverage from that. I think that this foundation is a absolute must try if you are considering it. Totally try it. I think any skin type will like this because I've got some of all of it, so go and try it. It is a little pricey. I want to say it was like $39 for, what is this, like 1 point something ounces, 1.01 fluid ounces. So not a huge bottle, but totally worth it. Go on Sephora, do the shade match, or go into your local Sephora and hopefully they have it. I had a little bit of a struggle getting my hands on this foundation. Went to the closest Sephora to me, which is like an hour away, and they didn't have this particular product in stock. So I ended up having to order online, but I'm glad I picked this one out. The other one I was debating on getting is the Fenty Eavesdrop foundation. Actually, I believe it's called a Blur Skin Tint, and I will be trying this one out as well. So anyways, so far, really, really like this foundation. I give it a big thumbs up, as you should do with this video if you enjoyed it, and also hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. I gotta get this makeup off. I gotta take my contacts out because I am tired. I look pretty darn busted. So I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.